have additions. Tom, you want? Thank you. Stop. I think I got them all.
Okay.
No?
Yeah, I know. Jacob, you gotta tell me if you're coming. Oh, well, I don't write the letter.
We got nothing. All we got is letters.
Okay.
Oh,
All interested.
oh.
I can take this off in here, can't I?
Technically? No.
I'm done.
Well,
Yeah, I
it
know.
depends on which way you want to do it.
She's probably on here.
Governmental meetings
That's
are
what Tom
exempt,
goes on.
but
Okay, that's all I need to
if you
do.
want, if you want
Just
to,
think this would be a bad time for
if
it?
you want the, I'm setting an example, then,
That's not me.
okay.
I can't take it. I mean, I can take it, but
I hear you.
as long as I'm up here like this, I'm good. Okay, we ready? I suppose it's, I'll start out with it. Okay, we'll start with the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Dankert, would you do the roll call, please?
Mayor Steam,
Present.
Councilmember at Large Austin,
Present.
Councilmember Baskin,
Present.
Haley,
Present.
Waller,
Present.
King,
Present.
Pashusta,
Present.
Fisher.
And why should I?
Present.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Item 1 is a motion for adoption of the agenda with additions. Need a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a motion approving the minutes from September 8th, 2020. We need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. We have no recognitions or award. Number 4, we need a motion for the consent agenda. Need a motion?
So moved. So
Is
moved.
there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Under petitions and requests, number 5 is a resolution setting the proposed tax levy and budget for 2021. Mr. Dankert.
As has been discussed the last couple of work sessions, the council has arrived at a tax levy for payable 2021 at $7,436,000. That is a 4% increase over the 2020 levy. The preliminary budgets proposed at this point in time total $36,461,661. Within those budgets will be a reduction, net reduction of full-time staff, I believe of 4.5 individuals, primarily through the vacancies that exist out there. Additionally, at this point in time, we are scheduling the public hearing for the Truth in Taxation hearing on December 9th, Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And just wanted to let council know, I know on the work session tonight, there's a tree trimming discussion also. This is our opportunity, your only opportunity to have a tax levy short of a special council meeting by September 30th, because this is a tax levy that will have to be presented to or sent over to the county for truth and taxation hearing. So the tax levy cannot be increased after any action you've done tonight, unless you hold a special council meeting by September 30th.
It can't be increased after we pass this resolution, right?
Unless you hold, unless I don't turn the resolution over to the county and you have another special meeting prior to September 30th.
Okay.
That's your only opportunity.
Okay.
But I presume once council makes a decision tonight, that's what I'm going to turn over to the county, because I'll turn it over to them tomorrow.
Yep. It's our intention. So where are we?
So with that, I need a resolution to propose, to approve a tax levy not to exceed $7,436,000 for next year, a budget of $36.46 million, and have schedule our public hearing for Wednesday, December 9th, 2020 at 6 o'clock.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 6 is a motion to remove proposed sidewalk connection through Phase 1 of Nature's Ridge addition. Mr. Lang.
Yes, we talked at the last work session about a comprehensive pedestrian access plan for Nature's Ridge development that would provide access from Phase 2 of the development, which will include sidewalks as part of the development agreement. The access plan would provide sidewalk connections from Phase 2 and future phases through Phase 1, making connections to the pedestrian trail located along 12th Avenue. That's the gist of it. There was a lot of discussion at the last work session. So I'll stop there and just answer any questions that anyone might have that have come up over the last couple weeks.
Well, I have had some citizens talk to me and ask if they could address the issue tonight. I know it's not a public hearing, but traditionally we've allowed people to do so. Who would like to, Steve, I see you're there. Why don't you give us,
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mayor and council members. Just some thoughts. I served on the steering committee for the Austin Comprehensive Plan, and I participated in meetings regarding the downtown master plan. I was fortunate to be included in meetings with MnDOT as plans were made for all of the I-90 bridge projects, and I served as chairman of the Vision 2020 Bike Walk Trail Committee from the very beginning. As a member of all those groups, I tried to advocate for making our city of Austin more bikeable and walkable with trails, on-road bike lanes, and sidewalks. So I'm speaking tonight regarding the Nature Ridge sidewalk proposal as presented by Mr. Lang. It was discussed and voted on at the work session meeting on Tuesday, 9/8. And I do have, as I said, I have some thoughts I'd like to share. I do have some email correspondence with Council Member Baskin, and we also had a phone conversation. And Councilmember Baskin, you mentioned that you would probably visit with other council members. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to do that yet. But what I wanted to say is our Director of Public Works and City Engineer, Stephen Lang, set forth a forward-looking future plan for a sidewalk in Nature Ridge development. He referenced the Complete Streets policy and gave a comprehensive explanation of how the policy supports his plan. And what I observed during that work session meeting was opposition to that plan by some council members, and then labeling it as a sidewalk to nowhere. If you were to go out to 20th Street Northeast right now and look north, you would see the start of road construction extending 20th Street to the north. And some may go out there and look at that and say it appears to be a road to nowhere. However, we all know by looking at Mr. Lang's plan that the road extension will lead to Nature Ridge Phase 2 and provide access to many new homes and for many new families. So in my opinion, the purpose of the sidewalk along 20th Street Northeast would be to give Nature Ridge neighborhood a safe access to the existing trail along 12th Avenue Northeast. That connection would then open routes to parks, the downtown area, and in fact many areas of the city. If you look back on the evolution of our great trail system, we would see how the trails were built in segments. And at times, some people may have even questioned the logic and even the sanity of some of the locations of the past trail construction, and say, at that time, they might have said, that's a trail to nowhere. However, we have a system, that we can be very proud of, and that was because of a plan for the future. And so I do believe that to not approve this plan for a sidewalk is the wrong direct decision for the neighborhood, and in the bigger picture, a wrong direction for the city. It was suggested that in place of the sidewalk, pedestrians could walk on the street. And I don't think we want individuals or families with young children walking on the street when we have an opportunity for a sidewalk. Furthermore, I heard it mentioned wheelchairs and strollers would not be appropriate on the street with cars. These would be all better off on a sidewalk with separation from the road. Ironically today, I noticed a couple of signs placed along 12th Street Southwest, right at 1st Avenue and 4th Avenue. And I had to stop and look. I realized they weren't political signs, and they both said, tell us how to improve walking in Minnesota. Visit minnesotawalks.org. So I checked out that website, and there's in fact a survey associated with MnDOT. When I saw that sign, my first thought was, how do we improve walking? By putting in more sidewalks. So I'm asking the council members who voted against the Nature Ridge sidewalk on September 8th, please reconsider your decision. Look at that plan that has been proposed and think of the betterment of the Nature Ridge neighborhood and the community as a whole. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anybody else that wants to address this? I see a hand.
Mayor, this is Laura. I just want to say that timing-wise, I don't know that we have to make a decision on this at all right now, because if the project were to go forward, it wouldn't be in 2021. Is that correct?
Stephen?
Yes, that is correct. We don't have it budgeted for 2021.
So, I guess I'm not sure what we have to lose by bringing it back before the council when it is closer to becoming a reality. I'm in favor of the sidewalk. I spoke to that at the meeting. My biggest concern is that I don't think you build a sidewalk for today's traffic. You build it for 20 and 30 years down the road. And the city worked hard to get the complete streets designation, and we rely on it for some of our funding. So if we start walking away from it, it does pose some potential risks for us in the future. So that's what I have to say.
Anybody else? Jeffrey?
Yeah, I guess I voted to not do the sidewalk at the work session, but in thinking about it since then, we did implement the Complete Streets policy, and it seems like we pick and choose when we want to use that policy, and I don't think that should be our option. I think we have that policy and we should follow it. And while I empathize with the one homeowner or one property owner in this development that will be negatively impacted because of some landscaping and things they've done, I think that if we were to go ahead with the sidewalk, and I would hope that maybe Mr. Lang and his department could work with them to try and avoid doing too much damage to what they have created there. But I do think we need to go ahead with the sidewalk when the time comes.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I'd just like to say, I didn't say too much about this last time, because after listening to everybody, I was pretty sure that the sidewalk was going to go as planned, but then the vote went a little differently. I've listened to the governor one time, and he said when they put in the Highway 14 corridor, apparently they did it section by section, and he said they just riddled us because we put in some intersection and everybody called it the bridge to nowhere. He said that was 7-8 years ago. He said look at it now. It's not the bridge to nowhere anymore. It's part of an integrated system that we had planned years ago and we followed through on. So I guess, we do have the complete streets. I'd like to see us go back to the original plan myself. If we don't, what we would we're voting on removing this from the plan. So if we don't remove it from the plan, it just stays the same. It depends on whether or not the removal goes through or not. Anybody else? Okay, well then we
Yeah,
need motions. I mean, if this.
No, hey,
Mike,
so one thing, you know, as Mr. Kime noted, I had a really good conversation with him, had a good conversation with property owners, as well as a few other folks. And I think there's a compromise here that can get us where we want to go on both sides. So what my proposal would be is I think right now it's scheduled in the CIP for 2022. What my proposal would be is let's take it off the 5-year CIP, but put a note into the CIP that we will be building the sidewalk as the neighborhood continues to develop. Because in reality, I think the complete streets policy is important. I think that if you look at this over a 50-year, time frame, the sidewalk makes a ton of sense. I think the objection from the property owners is more, hey, we've got 3 houses being impacted for a couple of blocks, but as this neighborhood continues to develop, this seems to make a lot of sense. And so I think that, similar to what we do with airport funding, where we say, hey, we're going to do this as long as we get matching funding. If we took it off for 5 years and just put a note as the neighborhood continued to develop, to make sure that we will continue to stay consistent, it could probably get us to a good solution that would make everybody happy.
So you would like to pass the motion tonight to remove it?
I think with the addition of a note saying that we will add sidewalks in the Nature's Ridge development in the future as neighborhood development warrants, or there may be better legal language.
I would.
Jason, I agree with Jason. We talked about this. I don't mind revisiting this. I recall the 4th Avenue or 4th Street path, and it seemed to bring out a lot of negativity, but now I think there's nothing but positivity on it. I referenced that last meeting. I would even go one step further, Jason, and think maybe we leave it on, and all the CIP stuff doesn't have to be done. It's a fluid document, so if we just leave it on, it gives the property owners a couple of years for sure to maybe move a sprinkler head or two they might have to do, move some landscaping around, so that we're not tearing it up and they got to double back their efforts. But I think it's going to happen, whether it's 2 years or 5 years. But I don't mind just keeping it on as is with kind of the asterisk of it's a fluid, moving target that we will get to probably after 2022, but somewhere within the next 2 to 5 years.
You're both speaking for councils in the future. You don't know if you're going to be on them. You don't know who the council people are going to be. We have to make decisions as a council today and not say, we're going to do this in 2 years from now, because you don't know what the council's going to look like. I think right now we either remove it from we either pass the removal of it or just don't pass it, and then it goes back to the original. I hate to start speaking for councils 2 or 3 years down the road.
Yeah, but even the CIP, I'm supposed to have a street replacement in my house about 5-6 years ago. It's not even on the 5-year plan anymore. We can move it around from year to year, I'm guessing, right, Mr. Dankert?
Yes, the CIP, when you pass that in December, the only thing it locks in is the very next year. So in December of 2020, you'll be passing a capital improvement plan for 2021 through 2025. The only item locked in is the 2021 project. So if this is scheduled in 2022, it's not locked in, it's for planning purposes only. And then Stephen and his staff will go through their sections, which includes the sidewalk, I'd assume, during the 2021 season. And in December of 22, we'll decide, is that in the plan for 2022 and beyond or not? Like Mr. King said, we've had many projects that show up in there in the next 5 years and actually get eliminated at some point in time, or just keep getting pushed back to the year 5. So again, the only thing you're locking in a CIP is the next year's project, which this would not be in there. It'd just be, it'd be in the CIP, but not as a firm cement, we're gonna do it type thing.
Then we should address it when it comes
So it
up.
seems to me the simplest thing to do is to not take any action.
I agree with you.
Because the future council will have the chance to take action on this again when it is part of a CIP that they're approving for the following year.
I agree, Laura. Why don't you make that a motion?
So
So what are we doing? Removing it then off the,
Well, either way, we need to either remove it or pass it. But I mean, to start making plans 2 or 3 years down the road, I think it's a mistake. We either leave it on or we take it off. That's what I would propose.
Do we have to take action to leave it on? Can we just let the recommendation from work session die?
Well, we could if nobody wants to pass a motion, but if people want this removed, I mean, it depends, but still people can pass motions. I got a feeling that we have a split council on this and we're gonna have to probably have a vote on it one way or the other. That's my feeling.
I guess I'll, just for giggles, I'd make the motion that we leave it on, as is and address it probably in 2022.
So Steve, what you're saying is we are not gonna pass this tonight and take it off?
Right, leave it on.
Leave the
Okay.
sidewalk in.
Leave the sidewalk in?
Leave the sidewalk in the CIP for 2022,
Right.
and we can address it in 2021.
Yeah, you'll
But
probably,
at least it's there, and I think it might have a good shot of being there, and it gives those homeowners a chance to move some underground sprinkler heads. And,
Okay.
knowing that eventually it'll probably be there.
Mr.
I'll
Dankert?
second that.
Okay.
Maintain the current CIP proposal.
That we'd be maintaining the current proposal and we would not be removing it per the motion tonight. We have a first and a second. Is there any more discussion on this? Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Baskin.
Maybe you want to explain it again, Tom.
Motion by Councilmember King, seconded by Councilmember Helly to leave it as is, leave the sidewalk in as is for the 2022 capital improvement plan. So an aye vote is in favor of leaving it in 2022, with the caveat that in 2021, you're going to take a look at it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Councilmember Baskin.
I'd still like to push it back a little bit further, so I'll vote nay, but I think it's a fair proposal.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
I'd like to push it back a little bit farther too, so I'm gonna go nay.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Well, if we approve it now, we can always push it back next year, but I would vote aye.
Okay,
Passes 5-2, Your Honor.
so we are going back to the original plan. For now, it can always be changed later.
Change tomorrow.
I think that's the best way of doing it. Thank you, council. Let's go to number 7 is a resolution approving engineering consulting services for Main Street and Second Avenue traffic signal. Mr. Lang.
We are currently working with WHKS to evaluate the existing signal light over on 4th Street and 3rd Avenue by Pacelli and St. A's. And that project was started here in 2020 and is going to carry over to 2021. In addition to that, we also have planned for 2022, no, 2021, get my years screwed up here. In 2021, we have planned the signal light on Main Street and 2nd Avenue. We've talked about that signal light before when we were talking about Christmas lights and looking at incorporating Christmas lights into the new signal light design. Well, that signal light is planned for 2021, and this proposal is from WHKS to do some intersection evaluation of that signal at North Main Street and 2nd Avenue in planning for the 2021 construction season. These funds will be paid for through our state aid account. It's estimated at $10,000, but that includes a lot of different pieces, and we'll evaluate the need for those pieces as we get into the evaluation of the signal. But we'd recommend awarding this work to WHKS.
Thank you. Council, any comments or questions? If not, let's have a resolution for number 7.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye, if I could find the mute button.
Helly.
Yes or no vote?
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 8 is a motion and ordinance reviewing a zoning ordinance for the Nicholas Enders property at 1101 8th Avenue Southeast. Ms. Wallace?
Mayor and council members, this matter was reviewed by the Planning Commission on September 15th, 2020. It's a request to rezone property by Nick Endres. He owns a business office off of 10th Drive Southeast. The petitioner is requesting to rezone the property from an I-1 light industrial district to a B2 community business district, and to amend the future land use plan to facilitate mixed-use office apartment building. The zoning would be what's considered a down zone, so it would be less intense use allowed in the B2 versus the I-1. This would be to, again, facilitate the addition of an additional apartment within the building that Mr. Endres owns. The use currently is non-conforming with residential not allowed in an I-1 district. The Planning Commission, with 6 members present, recommended approval of the rezoning request 6-0, finding that the use is compatible with the surrounding uses and zoning, and that no significant impacts are anticipated with regard to existing infrastructure in the surrounding environment.
Council, any questions or comments? If not, we need a motion for 8A.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
And then 8B, we need ordinance for adoption and publication of the ordinance.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 9 is a motion reviewing a fence appeal from Diane Hansen for the property at 500 8th Avenue Southeast. Ms. Wallace?
Again, at our September 15th meeting, the Planning Commission reviewed a fence appeal submitted by Diane Hansen. She proposes to add a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence, which would replace her existing side/backyard fence, which is on a corner lot. The fence is set back 4.5 feet from the property line, 8 feet less than the 12.5 feet required. The area where she is proposing to add the fence, well, the fence that's existing there has been there for approximately 20 years, and she's not planning on expanding the area to add the fence. The Planning Commission, with 6 members present, voted 6-0 to recommend approval. This comes from a discussion of impacts on neighboring properties, public right-of-way, review of practical difficulties and reasonableness of the petitioner's request.
Council, any questions or comments, any additions? If not, we need a motion for number 9, to approve or deny. I assume approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 10 is a motion, reviewing a non-conforming use request from JS2 Properties LLC to split parcel 34-790-0950 into 2 lots. Ms. Wallace?
So our ordinance does allow a change of non-conforming use. So a non-conforming use is one that is not currently allowed in the zoning district where the property is located. In this instance, this is an R1 residential district. There are 2 primary residences located on one lot. It's complicated in a number of ways having those two residences. The petitioner appeared and made some comments regarding trying to sell the properties, and the buyers trying to get financing is difficult. So two parties could own one property equally, but trying to have any kind of property line or division with the way it is currently utilized would be very difficult. So the proposal, the petitioners did come up with a survey showing how they would propose the lot be split. This creates two small lots, even considering our minimum is 6,000 square feet. But that said, the existing lot was still under the 6,000 square feet, so not in conformity either. So the lot split would create two lots, one approximately 4,000 square feet and the other approximately 2,000 square feet. After review with 6 planning commission members present, the commission voted 5-1 to approve the request. The planning commission recommendation includes the finding that the proposed use is equally or more appropriate to the district than the existing non-conforming use, and considered the existing neighborhood and issues with marketability of the property. As noted, I did get a call from Councilmember Helly. She had gotten some feedback from some of the neighbors, just kind of wondering what the proposal was. Our notices don't explain in detail, and then I didn't get any other comments from the public.
Council, anything? Questions, comments? If not, then we need a motion to approve or deny number 10.
I assume that, the planning commission discussion really focuses on the fact that if you've got two properties that are sitting there, there's not really a good alternative. Is that a fair understanding? It's just, again, it's a very difficult situation. You can imagine if you inherited property from, let's say, your parents, and you and your sibling inherited it together, and you owned it equally. Well, you own the whole thing together. You don't just own, half and can, mark it off, with a fence or something like that. And having, so right now it's used as 2 rental properties, which works. But it would have to be, if somebody bought just that parcel as is, it would have to be them living in one parcel and renting the other, or having a family member maybe living in the other parcel. But it's very difficult to market that property as is, and I think my understanding is that the property owners have been trying to figure out a way to make both properties more productive.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Laura.
I just wanted to comment that the bottom line for me as a neighbor, and this isn't, down the block for me, the bottom line for me is, unless I'm hanging out at the recorder's office, this is no change to my life. It's literally changing the lines on the map. The actual use of the properties isn't changing, and I just don't see any negative neighborhood impact. I will say that a letter says just, I think it just said 2 properties in non-conforming use, and it was very vague and didn't really explain it. But after hearing it from Holly, I just can't see any downside to approving it. So do we have a motion on the table? I would move to approve.
Okay, Laura makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
I hear the recorder's place is a hopping party, so I'll vote aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
I passed by that place today, Jason. They had Babe Ruth candy bars. Aye.
So that's an aye.
Councilmember Pashusta.
Bottom with a Babe Ruth, right?
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Mr. Byram, can we do an investigation to see if that Babe Ruth could be considered a bribe? Just kidding. Number 11 is a resolution approving a gambling premise application from the Maura County Council for the Handicapped at Barley's Austin LLC.
Yeah, I
Ann,
can
is
speak
this
to that,
yours?
Mayor, yeah.
Okay.
This is the Moore County Council for the Handicapped. They earned some of their charitable money from gambling, so they are asking to expand their places that they gamble to Barley's Austin, which is a restaurant. So they have to get approval from the council to move that license there.
Okay, council, any questions or comments on this? If not, let's have a resolution for 11.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 12 is a resolution approving a CARES agreement with Maura County for election funding. Ms. Kazel.
This is an agreement. The county was allocated a specific amount of CARES funding, and then from there, they pass it down to the municipalities based on our population. So the city of Austin is going to receive $7,777.36, and we're going to use that money put towards our polling place location rental, those plexiglass barriers we've purchased, social distancing things we've purchased, and then also staff support for the county for the increase for absentee voting.
Council, you have any questions? If not, let's have a resolution for 12.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
I think we should lobby for 41 more cents, so it was 777,777. Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 13 is a single motion granting the Planning and Zoning Department the power to contract for the removal of junk and/or illegally stored vehicles at 10056 6th Avenue Northeast, the Cunningham property. Need a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 14 is a resolution approving a contract with WSB for ArcGIS implementation. Mr. Lang?
Yeah, we've talked a few times about the engineering department starting up a GIS program to help with our maintenance of infrastructure and information to make it more readily available to not only staff but also people in the public, and in the future even expanding that GIS program to other departments, whether it be Park and Rec with maybe a tree inventory or information that needs to be gathered from administration, planning and zoning, those sorts of things as well. So in order to get this program up and going, making sure that we start off on the right foot, we are looking to work with a consultant, WSB, to help us with that process, make sure we get started correctly, and then our new GIS staff person would have a resource to bounce ideas off of and also be able to take it from there after we get things started up correctly. So with that, we would request approving this proposal of $7,500 with WSB, with funding coming out of our stormwater and wastewater treatment plant funds.
Council, any questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution for 14.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Our final resolution 15, approving membership for Project Lifesaver. Chief McKeegan?
This would be a partnership with the Hormel Historic Home, Autism-friendly Austin. They've offered to partner with us, the fire department, and the sheriff's department to provide some tracking services for those on the autism spectrum should they be separated from their caregivers. There are some costs associated with this, approximately $6,000 to $7,000 worth initially for sure. Our commitment would be 3 officers and 3 firefighters to become trackers within the program. HHH would support those costs for us to get us registered and make us members. They have some families who are interested in the service. They would handle all of that type of screening. We just need to provide the staff to ultimately operate the tracking equipment and provide them via our overtime budget should they need to be called out. We would also pay for them to be trained. I think it's a great partnership for the community. It would enhance the community. Officers and deputies could go outside the area if called on. I think it's a great program, and certainly that the Hormel Home and Autism Friendly Austin are willing to sponsor it. I think is also well worth it, and I would endorse approving this membership agreement.
Is that training going to be locally, or are we going to have to send them somewhere?
We have a certain period of time that Autism Friendly Austin would like to have this done. I do believe since we are going to have 10 people, 4 sheriffs, 3 APD, 3 AFD, that they would bring this to us initially. We would have to recertify them every 2 years. I believe that happens regionally over in Rochester. So,
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? If not, we need a resolution for 15.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Baskin,
Aye.
Helly,
Aye.
Waller,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Pashusta,
I see her.
Councilmember Pashusta,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Okay, well, that's our basic meeting. Are there any citizens? I'm told we have 2 citizens that would like to address the council tonight. Is that true? Come on up to the median here, the lectern here. Give us your name and your address and your concerns.
Take this off.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Tricia Olinger, and I am a property owner at 605 19th Street Northwest in Austin. We have since moved out of town. We still own our property. However, on August 18th, we received a letter from the zoning department signed by Brent Johnson stating we were opening a business in a residential area, as we had rented U-Haul, U-Boxes, and at that time, we are very baffled as to why we received this. We requested a Freedom of Information Act from the city of Austin. We received the communication. I do want to note that I was here 5 years ago with a zoning violation for too many vehicles in our yard, which we were in violation of, however, it was temporary. We were fast-tracked and it was brought to the city council 14 days after we received the letter. I received the letter, it was coming to city council. On the day it was coming to city council, with no date on the letter specifying when I could stand up for my rights. In that 14 days, we also received a violation of a pool, of which we were not in violation of. Both of those violations were signed by Fred Huesmuller. Excuse me. When we received the email regarding the business violation on August 8th, we received the emails. The first email was to Brent Johnson from Mr. Fred Huesmuller stating we are stocking U-Haul containers, and he believes we are opening a business. Mr. Johnson then noted and replied that he felt like we might have been moving. On August 17th, Brent Johnson drove up outside of our house and took a picture
of our U-Haul pods, a dumpster, and my husband's truck in the yard. At that point, this could have ended. Somebody could have knocked on our door. My husband called and sent emails stating, if you see U-Haul containers in a residential yard, what is the first thing you think of? And that is that they're moving. His justification that he sent as an email to Mr. Hughesmuller stated that he assumed we were opening a business because we had a dumpster in the driveway. Mr. Hughesmuller said, well, I don't believe that is obvious, send them the letter anyway. At that point, we were sent the letter saying we are in violation of opening a business in a residential area. My question to this council is, where is the investigation and where is the property rights, the owner's property rights? We were not called, we were not notified. We talked to several people, including Mr. Craig Clark, who referred to this as a murder investigation. I am imploring you.
There goes your credibility, because I don't think Craig Clark called this a murder. Craig?
He did. We spoke on the phone,
Okay,
and he
go
referred, I asked, where is
Go
the
ahead,
due
go ahead. I'm
process?
just telling you that that's not a,
Okay,
unless
well
it was
then,
said, I don't.
Your
believe it.
Honor, I strike that from the record, Mr. Steen.
Go ahead.
I don't like to come and make accusations. However, I have the documentation.
Pretty good at it.
Well,
Go
then
ahead.
explain to me why this is right. Why were we not included in the investigation, and why did we not receive our due process?
I don't know anything about this. I mean, what did Mr. Hughes?
I spoke to you on the phone, Mr. Steen, as well as my husband. I just
Okay.
want you to say I don't feel like you don't know
Okay.
anything about this.
Is that it?
That is.
Okay, thank you.
No, I would like some clarification
No, you've made your
on the
statement.
due process of this.
I guess I encourage,
To answer your questions, we'd need Mr. Hughes Miller, the other guy here. I don't know what happened on this process. I can't answer. Jeff, do you want to try?
well, I guess I encourage Ms. Olinger to come before us, because I know a few years ago, we went through the process with the Planning and Zoning Department as to how these various violations end up to council and the steps taken and the amount of time, and we realized that it was a very thorough investigation and a good due process, and that the homeowner was notified several times along the way. In talking to Ms. Olinger about this most recent event at her property, where it sounds like the only investigation was emails or Mr. Johnson driving by, seeing the pods, reporting back to Mr. Hughesmuller that he thought they were moving, and Mr. Hughesmuller saying that he thought they were starting a business and to send the violation. Whereas, like she said, if he'd have just knocked on the door and said, hey, why do you have these U-Hauls here? We're moving, it would have been over and done with. And
Mr. Mayor.
I talked to, was it you or your husband I talked to, ma'am?
It
I
was
thought
my
it was
husband.
done at that point. You said you were moving, everything was settled. Now, has some action taken after that by the city? Because I talked to some city people and they said, no, as far as the city's concerned, we were done with it.
Then I would like documentation of that, sir. I would like the violation, because I am not in violation.
I'm just
Yet
telling
I
you-
received a
I'm just
letter that I
asking if
am.
something happened after that.
No, we just would like our due process, and I want the violation not on our property, because we were not in violation. This is what I'm trying to say.
Mr. Byram,
This
what are
is
our
what I
options
was
here?
saying 5 years ago.
Okay, what are our options here?
Well, I think to begin with, City Administrator Craig Clark has been wanting to say something, but what I would say is that with many of these zoning, junk, refuse, building code violations, things like that that are visible from the street, the way that it goes is that the staff witnesses, takes photographs, reviews it internally, and sends a letter. And in the letter, it says, if you have any concerns about this, or if you feel like you have questions you need answered or problems, there's a phone number at the bottom. So for those property owners who feel that it's inappropriate, they call the number and they offer the explanation, and then the city staff says, well, thank you for the explanation, and then that's the end of it.
Right.
No further adverse action is taken. And as I understand this particular case, which I'm not intimately familiar with, but I've seen a few things on it, it would appear that that's precisely what happened, is that a letter went out, likely on a misunderstanding based upon viewing pods that were on the premises, a dumpster that was on the premises. A conclusion was drawn that appears to be
factually incorrect. Once this staff determined that that was factually incorrect, then the matter didn't proceed any farther, and there is no adverse action. There's nothing to withdraw, there's nothing to cancel, there's no citation on the property or violation on the property. It just sort of ended with the determination that this was not something that we're going to pursue any further.
So what would you like from us, an apology?
I would like a letter verifying that this is the case, because I don't know this is the case. This is what the letter says, and I just would like some follow-up, and I would like the community members of this city to feel like they get due process. On August 17th, 2020, the City of Austin Planning and Zoning Department conducted an investigation of your property. The following violations of city code were observed at this site and needs to be resolved. Mayor, I'm speaking, please. The city code were observed at this site and need to be resolved. This states in this letter that I am indeed in violation. I would like a letter stating that the Zoning and Planning Department made an error and I am not in violation.
Can we do that? Oh, Mr. Clark, I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with that. That's
all we've been asking for.
Go ahead, Greg.
Mr. Mayor, well, I think the request that I got was a little bit more extensive than that, but that's okay. I think we can send the letter to, if that satisfies you, to close out the matter. We certainly could do that. Mr. Byram, I think, covered it well. I think what's important for council is that I did look into this, and the actions taken by the department were consistent with our ordinances. And, you know, essentially, a couple of things at play here was, I think there really wasn't a familiarity with the U-Haul units that they had on their property. They were new to us as a department, so I think that caused some of the misunderstanding about what they thought was a commercial use, because they hadn't seen these before. They're more the independent storage pods for council's benefit than a U-Haul truck or what have you. So
I have the picture if you need to see it.
Yep.
We don't need that.
Right, but really what it boils down to is just and they mentioned that the city is the homeowners association of the city, and in a lot of ways we really are. We regulate the city, we don't regulate individual areas of the city, we regulate the whole city, and it's really premised on the fact that we want our community to look good. And if somebody's moving out, and I think they were there for a longer time than probably was generally expected as well. So our letters make that, I guess, preliminary finding, if you will, and as Mr. Byram said, whether it's weeds, what have you, those notices look very similar, and most are resolved either by the constituent taking action or through a conversation, and we always try to work with the homeowners in every instance that we can, and I'm sure that was done in this case as well. I understand nobody likes getting an enforcement letter, but sometimes that's the action that we take. And, you know, I understand the interest in sort of knocking on doors and trying to find their phone numbers and stuff, but with limited resources, we really just rely on, I guess in some respects, kind of a colder interaction. The letters, you know, since it is an enforcement letter, does have a certain tone to it that some people can react negatively to. So that's what I know about it, and we can certainly get you that letter.
Yeah, if you want a letter to straighten this out, I have no problem with that. And if the city did something wrong, I apologize to the city. Okay?
I would like to say, and to address Mr. Clark's point, that those U-Haul pods were there for 7 days when we got the notification. And I would also like to state that one simple sentence at the beginning of this letter could really make this tone of this letter not so offensive. And all that has to state is that we have observed this, please call us to address it, not that we observed that you were in violation, because we were not in violation.
Okay.
We were not opening a business.
We'll get to that
I
later.
brought this to the
Ma'am,
council's attention 5 years ago.
We'll get to the letter. Your time is up. Okay, have a seat.
Well, then fix your zoning and planning department, Mr. Mayor, because their communication is awful. We do not even know the dates of the city council.
Mr. Officer, would you have her take her to a seat? This is ridiculous. Where did you move to? Okay. Honorary council member, Dora, are you out there?
She wasn't able to attend tonight.
Okay. Reports and recommendations. Tom, would you go through?
Councilmember Baskin.
Just wanted to congratulate the Human Rights Commission on a really nice welcoming week last week. I know they had a number of different events that they had in partnership with Riverland and some other groups, and able to attend a number of them, and really well done. And so I thought they did a great job of taking what is normally a great week and figuring out how to do that in a pandemic with some virtual tours and things like that. So we continue to be very thankful for the work that they do and look forward to what next year brings.
Thank you.
Councilmember Helly.
I would like to echo Councilmember Baskin and specifically say that part of Welcoming Week was a salute to immigrant-owned businesses, and Tienda Guerrero was named the favorite immigrant-owned business in Austin, so congratulations to them. And if you have not enjoyed pork taco there, you should make a point of doing that. Thanks.
Councilmember Waller.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember King.
Nothing.
Councilmember Pashusta.
I want to say that on September 27th from 6 to 7, the library will be having their last outdoor book discussion on the book White Fragility. And on October 7th, they're going to be holding a great 1-hour workshop on listening called Change Begins with Listening. So if you'd like to get more information on either of those, you can contact the library or to sign up. That's it.
Councilmember Fisher.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember at Large Austin.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Mayor Steen.
I have nothing right now. Craig, do you?
Yes, I just wanted to bring in a formal way, bring to council's attention, we did get correspondence from the league on our CARES funding allocation. Some further clarification from Department of Treasury, Office of Inspector General. We're looking into those implications. We've been in contact with Senator Klobuchar's office about getting further clarification. It did muddy the waters a little bit about how we allocated that, but we're doing more due diligence on that and seeing if there's any change that we'd need to make from the council's perspective on the use of those funds.
Okay. Ann, did you have something? Pardon?
Yes. I just wanted to note about the upcoming election that absentee voting opened last Friday. You are able to come and vote at City Hall if you would like to. Absentee ballots are currently being sent out in the mail. For the city of Austin, we received around 4,000 absentee ballot requests. So we are getting those processed. We're about half done. So about half of them are in the mail, and the other half will be out in the next couple of days. So be patient. It's on the way. And then if residents want to bring their ballot back, they can drop it off at City Hall instead of sending it through the mail if that is their preferred method. If they have any questions, they can give us a call.
If they bring it back, do they go upstairs with it or bring it to City Hall?
They can go upstairs in City Hall to the second floor. We're also going to get some people staffing on the main floor just for a drop off as it gets busier for that.
And do we have, has that voting been pretty heavy so far? Would you have any idea on that?
It's been pretty steady. There's been a steady stream of people coming in.
Okay. Okay, well, if anybody has anything else to add before we close, we need a motion to adjourn till Monday, October 5th, 2020 at 5:30.
So moved.
Is there a second?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes,
I'll
Paul
second.
Fisher.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Baskin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Waller.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Pashusta.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Large Austin.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Do we need to take a break?
If we could have a 5-minute break, please.
5-minute break.
5 minutes, Marty. Thank you.